Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. I welcome you all in my class. So today we are going to start our lesson from 2.2 section 2.2 unit number 2 Hope and Aspiration by Nelson Mandela. This is in fact a speech Glory and Hope by Nelson Mandela. So you all would be very much familiar with this great name, the great Nelson Mandela, I think so. He has done a significant role, great role, that his name has been written in the golden words on the pages of the history. He has appeared as he has been recognized because of his human approach, because of his reputation as a person who just did a lot of work for the welfare of humanity. On the other hand, he has many other roles he has performed. So let's explore what he has done. Nelson Mandela was elected as the first black president. So the very first major role that he has performed, that he has been selected as the first black president in South Africa on May 10th, 1994. So the very first thing is that he has been elected as the first black president in South Africa. What was so significant to be called first black president, we'll explore in the coming lines. This election was particularly significant because it was the first ever multiracial democratic election in the country's history. So why? Because it was the first major election that has actually invited, besides the black ones, to just be the part of the country democratic elections. It also signaled the end of the apartheid, from the African word apartness or separateness. So what is apartheid system? Which was both a slogan and a social and political policy of racial segregation and discrimination enforced by the White National Party from 1948 until Mandela's election. However, racial segregation has characterized South Africa since white settlers arrived in 1652 before apartheid. So what is so significant here? The very first thing that we come to know that he has been selected as the first black president in South Africa. Number 2, as he has been there because this has been the first democratic election on country's history. Number 2. Number 3 is this, no doubt that it invited many multiracial persons. Multiracial means from the different races, from the white and the black as well. On the other hand, it just marked an end, the beginning of his era. The beginning of Nelson Mandela's era marked an end towards the apartness, toward the system of apartheid, separateness, which was both a slogan and the social and political policy of racial segregation and discrimination. So the fourth and the very significant thing is this, that Nelson Mandela has this, you can say, achievement that he just made clear that system of apartheid from his country. Apartheid, what is that system? Apartheid system is that people will be dealt on the basis of their race, and they will be discriminated on the basis of their skin. So the racial segregation has characterized South Africa since white settlers arrived in 1652 before apartheid. So what is apartness? We must know, first of all, what is apartness. What is what is meant by apartheid? It is a system or legislation to uphold segregations, to uphold different policies against non-white citizens of South Africa after the National Party gained power in South Africa in 1948. It's all till its all-white government immediately began enforcing the existing policy of racial segregation. Under apartheid system, non-white South African, a majority of the population, would be forced to live in separate areas from white and separate public facilities. So first of all, we must know that what is the essence of the speech, that is the glory and hope. The essence of the speech is this Nelson Mandela got all his courage, all his inspiration through those circumstances where he was forced to live. He was forced to live in apartness. Apartness mean in the system of apartheid. Apartheid mean a system that has been developed by National Party in South Africa in 1948. Okay, so what it demanded? It demanded that all the people will be dealt on the basis of their race, on the basis of their skin. So non-white South African, those who were in majority in population, they were forced to live in separate areas from white and use separate public facilities. And even the contact between these two groups were limited. Are you getting? Apartheid system means to get apartness, to get separated on the basis of the color, on the basis of the race. Between white and black, kale or gore would be different, and even the facilities they are going to have living in a country would be very different. The areas would be different, especially if you are going to search in the history, where you would be astonished to see that the areas has been allocated even to white and the black people on the basis of their race. Means on some areas it was prohibited for black to enter, in some areas white do not like to visit those areas. So even the contact between these two groups, that was very limited. So it remained effective, that apartheid system remained, its laws remained effective for 50 years. And approximately in 1999, the government of there was a president, F.W. de Klerk, who repealed most of the legislation. He repeated most of the legislation, and he just along with Nelson Mandela, he just made different changes, and later he became the Nobel Prize winner, okay, for the making new constitution for South Africa. So from 1948 till 1990s, a single word dominated life in South Africa, that is apartheid. African words, Afrikaans for apartness, that kept the country's majority, especially the black population, under the thumb of a small white minority. The segregation began in 1948 after the National Party came to power. The party instituted policies of white supremacy which empowered white South Africans and descended from Dutch and British settlers, with further disfranchising black Africans. So, are you getting? I am going to repeat that what is the essence of the speech, what is the background of the speech, what led Nelson Mandela to raise a historical figure, that is his role in the history, on the pages of the history is written in such a way that he emerged from those dark areas. He emerged as a light, where black were looked upon, where they were given, even they were allocated a proper area to live, to settle. But he just removed that apartness, he just removed that separateness, he just removed that racial segregation by his hard work, by his will, by his political foresight. So the segregation that began in 1948 after the National Party just came into power, and they just enforced such policies where white were considered to be supreme, and they were empowered with many, they were empowered. On the other hand, black Africans, they were taken under the thumb of a small white minority. The black African population, even that were in majority, they were deprived of their basic right, and they were forced to go to different places, to those places that were deprived of the you can say basic facilities of the life. So on the other hand, this separating black South African from each other reduced the possibility for the black to unify into a national organization. So it was like that they were not given their full political rights, but they were effectively removed from the national political body. Okay, so it is like a miracle to emerge from that scenario where the black were not even encouraged to have an effective role in the nation's political body. In that most devastating aspect, what happened, that in that scenario, even the homeland and homeland of the South African, black South African, they were sold at low price to white farmers. So from 1961 to 1994, more than 3.5 million people were removed from their houses, and they were just pushed or forced to live in an area where they were just plunged into poverty and hopelessness. So the hope and the glory, the basic essence of the speech is that the black people, those who are pushed into the darkness, into the situation where living in a home, they were just given a corner of the home to live in the dark, desperate situation. This speech is going to give them glory and the hope. So Nelson Mandela, he was a South African anti-apartheid revolutionary politician and philanthropist who served as the president of South Africa from 1994 to 1999. I have discussed in detail the background of his political scenario. He was the country's first black head of state and first elected in a fully representative democratic election. His government focused on dismantling the legacy of apartheid by tackling institutionalized racism and fostering racial reconciliation. Ideologically an African nationalist and socialist, he served as the president of the African National Congress Party from 1991 to 1997. So, Nelson Mandela, from 1980 till December 2013, he appeared to be a South African activist, and he brought an end to that apartheid and has been a global advocate for all the human rights. Not only that, he had been a member of National Congress Party that beginning in the 1940, he was the leader of the peaceful protests and armed resistance against the white minority oppressing regretfully in a racial division in South Africa. So Nelson Mandela, he had not only brought an end to that separated and apartheid system, but also he had been hailed as a peaceful protester. But also on the other hand, he has another role to be armed resistance. He just played his role against the arms as well. arms mean against the armed forces as well. So his action landed him in prison for nearly 30 decades. So it just took him to make the people realize, to make the world realize that the black hold the same right as the white one, living in their own home. It took him 30 years to just be in a cell, to be in a prison, to be in a jail. After retiring from politics in 1999, he remained a devoted champion for peace and social justice in his own nation and around the world till his death at the age of 95. So he has been a great anti-apartheid revolutionary person, not only a politician and above all a philanthropist. What is philanthropist? He that is having a human approach, a supporting role for others, having a kind approach. So Nelson Mandela will perhaps be remembered as much as for his fight for the underprivileged as his fight against the white minority rules. So it is not that he just played his role as a political leader, but also he has played his role as a fight against the unprivileged as well. Being philanthropist, it means that he just showed his love for the humanity as well. Who are the philanthropists? Those are having the human approach. Those are very kind to others. So he not only just fought for the right of the for his people, but also for the whole world. He once very famously said that overcoming poverty is not a task of charity; it is an act of justice. And so he lent his support to dozen of caregiving organization. So how we can understand that his act of kindness, his philanthropist approach, out of his great acts of philanthropy was to donate 1/3 of his presidential salary to the Nelson Mandela Children Funds, but his interest remained bored. So what was his role? That not only he just brought light for the people of his land, but also he devoted all of his wealth to the people, to those who were underprivileged, for the poor one, to abolish the poverty from his nation. So ideologically an African nationalist and socialist, he served as a president of African National Congress Party from 1991 and 1997. So we have done in detail the role of Nelson Mandela. He has appeared as a politician, as a great leader, as a great human, as a kind person, as a revolutionary person who brought a revolutionary idea to the people, that living in one's own country, one shouldn't be judged on the basis of the color, on the basis of the race, but they should be given the equal rights. So after living 3 decades, after spending even 3 decades in prison because he has spoken the truth, so he has to face the consequences. After tough times, Mandela is not ashamed of his land and believes that with hard work and patience from the citizens of South Africa, they can reinforce humanity's belief in justice, strength, its confidence in the nobility of the human soul, and sustain all hopes and of the glorious life for all. So what is the main theme? That is, we can just sustain all hopes of a glorious life for all. It is for all. So before starting the speech, we should understand what it is, what the speech is about. It's about hopes for all, for glorious life for all. So we have done one more speech, that is I have a dream, in the previous pages. I have a dream, and here we are having our another speech, that is glory and hope. So what is so common? We'll see I Have a Dream and Glory Have Hope are two extraordinary speeches by two great men at the desperate time of needs. At days with racial injustice, where color was power, these men stood up against these ruthless sects to serve what was right. So those are two men. One was Dr. King and other is Nelson Mandela. So these are two extraordinary speeches that are the part of your syllabus, and they are speaking against the racial injustice. For those time when the people were considered, they were dealt on the basis of their colors, and the color war power. Dr. Martin Luther King has delivered his speech at the Lincoln Memorial in 1953 during the Civil Rights Movement in the USA. Glory and Hope was delivered by Nelson Mandela in 1994. Okay, after that, apartheid South African system ended, with both their speeches having the same objective. You will observe, you will understand, you will sense that they both great leaders have the same objective with similar ideas, at some point different aspect in which they supported their ideology of peace. So what is common? Their ideology of peace, freedom, justice and equality. As both freedom fighters had the same idea towards that racial injustice, and there are many similarities in these both speeches. So why I'm emphasizing, why I'm just giving you the comparison and between I Have a Dream and Glory Have Hope, because by the end of this unit you would be having a question where you will be asked to compare these both speeches. So these both speeches having the central idea of justice, equality and ideology is of peace and freedom. Both appear to be great leader. Both just delivered the speeches on some memorable days. So there are many similarities in their speeches. So before starting the speech, let's see what is this speech about. What are the contents? What are the synopsis? Nelson Mandela would be thanking everyone for their presence, thanking international guests for common victory for justice. He would say that there would be no discrimination, there would be long lasting peace, and he would be talking about importance of unity, pray for Africa. On the other hand, Mandela want both audiences, black and white. Here it has been mentioned black and white to recognize the importance of the turning point that his address represented it in the country's history. He wanted the international community to see the new South Africa as the model state which could teach others how to reconcile and overcome conflicts of the past. So his speech would be working on that. He wanted international community to know, to assess that Africa is going to be as a model state, and it is going to reconcile and overcome the conflicts of the past. He hoped that South African would accept his message of the need to move away from the past and look to the future as a newly united people, united both black and white. We should work together to overcome the legacies of the past. So that were all the contents of his speech that he would be talking about. So let's start from the speech from page number 56. Nelson Mandela states, Your Majesties, Your Highness, distinguished guests, comrades and friends, today all of us do, by our presence here and by our celebration in other parts of our country and the world, confer glory and hope the newborn liberty out of the experience of an extraordinary human disaster that lasts too long, must be born a society of which all humanity will be proud. So the speech starts with a very effective tone. The speech starts with an inspirational proclamation. What is that we have gathered here? We all had gathered here on this memorable day, where we all have born, where we all has emerged as a society that humanity is going to be proud. He is addressing the people there, the foreigners, everyone there. So I would be starting from the speech tomorrow. this was all for today. It is very much important that we must know what is the background of all, what is the historical background of all the movement that Nelson Mandela just worked on, and how he was a social activist, how he was a kind person, how he was a revolutionarist, how he was a political leader. So we must know first of all these all elements of his personality, these all characteristics of his personality. Then it would be easy for us to understand the speech. So we would be continuing in the next lesson. Wish you best of luck and hope so that the things are very much clear to you people. So let me finish with this quotation: education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. So you people have this power. Take care of you. God bless you. Allah Hafiz.